You can learn 10,000 words in 30 days in any language. And in this video, I'm going to show you how. Spoiler alert, you don't need flashcards. 10,000 words. That's a big number, right? When people hear this, they have two types of responses. There are the people who immediately think that's impossible. They immediately start looking for reasons why that would never work. And of course, it never works for them, because if your first reaction to a goal is to come up with reasons why it would never work, then of course you'll never make it. And then there's the second group of people. The people who, instead of immediately rejecting the idea and coming up with reasons why it wouldn't work, start thinking of ways to actually make it happen. Those are the winners. When they give you a big goal, your reaction shouldn't be, that's impossible. It should be, how can I make it happen? How can I actually do it? And if you think about it long enough, and if you do enough research, you will eventually find a way to make it happen. Luckily for you, I already did that, so I'm going to save you hundreds of hours of experimenting and research. I'll show you exactly, step by step, how to learn 10,000 words in 30 days. Let's get started. And the first thing you need to know is that words are much easier to learn if you learn them in context. So you shouldn't learn words in isolation, always in context, always in example sentences. This way you will also learn the grammar as well without studying the rules. If you learn enough sentences, you learn all the grammar. And words will be much easier to remember. So rule number one is always learn the words in context, inside example sentences, always. The second thing you need to know is that you don't actually need to learn 10,000 words. It depends on the language, but a percentage of the vocabulary in the language will be related to the languages you already speak. If the language you're learning is very different from the ones you already speak, then of course you'll have to learn a lot more words. But if the language you're learning is a European language and you already speak English, chances are 20, 30, 40%, in some cases 50% or more of the vocabulary in the language will be the same or similar to the vocabulary you already know. So you'll be able to recognize those words in context. So you can see that we're already reducing that number from 10,000 to 8,000 or 5,000 or even less in some cases. And it gets even better, because if you use word families, instead of one word at a time, you can learn 5 or 10 or even more. And of course, this will speed up the process massively. If you add a 0 to the number of words you're learning per day, suddenly you realize that you're able to learn way faster than you ever thought possible. So what exactly are word families? A word family is a group of words that are related to each other. For example, to work is a word, but worked, working, workout, workaholic, workplace, and many other words belong to the same family. So if you learn the word work in the language that you are learning, you will also learn all those words if you do it right. If you take that word and get a list of all the related words and put them all in example sentences, and you can do this easily with AI, now you have a list of sentences that it's very, very easy to learn, and you'll be able to learn 10 or 20 new words very quickly as a group. You memorize the root word with a mnemonic association, and the rest are very easy to learn in context. And you can also review them easily by simply listening to those sentences with text-to-speech software. And if you then test yourself with active recall, right after looking at the sentences and understanding them, you test your knowledge of them, you will remember most of them very easily long term, especially if you also review them with spaced repetition, which is really, really easy to do without flashcards by simply listening to the audio files of the sentences. You create audio files of those sentences, a sentence per word that you're learning, grouped in word families, so they all sound similar and they are related to each other. They're easy to recognize, and you listen to them over and over while you do something else. This way you can review thousands and thousands of sentences every day, thousands of words. And because they are related to each other, they're very, very easy to recognize. If you like flashcards, you can use them, it's fine, but it's a very slow way to learn compared to this. This is the best way to learn, all right? Use word families, so learn words in groups of related words. Always use example sentences so that you can learn them in context. Use active recall, to encode the information much more efficiently from day one and actually be able to remember the words and review them constantly by listening to them. This way of learning is extremely powerful and you'll be able to learn thousands of words very quickly. And you can make it even more powerful if you use mnemonic associations. This is an extremely effective memorization technique. Watch the next video to learn how to use it.